Live from Aquinas Hall in Sparkill, New York, this is St. Thomas Aquinas College basketball. Today, the Spartans take on the University of the District of Columbia Firebirds in an East Coast Conference basketball doubleheader. And a good afternoon, one and all. Steve Balson, Robert Goldberg here with you. Senior Day, the regular season finale. We say it every year, hard to believe that it's gone by so quickly. St. Thomas Aquinas coming in with a record of 20-6 overall, 12-3 in the East Coast Conference. UDC at 8-19 overall, 4-11 in conference play. And since yours truly and my partner have become proud graduates of the School of Sports Standings Calculus, can't even say it, let alone do it. We're going to try to get you up to date. There's a lot of ramifications for both teams. UDC has its playoff fate in its own hands and could still make it regardless of what happens today. The Spartans trying to get themselves in better position as well for the upcoming ECC tournament. Rob, should be an exciting day of basketball.
Especially when you think about the emotion that's going to be throughout this building today. Senior Day, they have 4 seniors they're going to honor right before tip-off. STAC playing for a potential #1 seed with a win today and a Damon loss tomorrow. And like Steve mentioned, UDC with a win today will clinch their spot into the conference tournament. If they lose with a little bit of help, they can still get in. So a lot that's going on throughout the conference and on the court here today.
Also be sure to be with us before the start of our men's game. The back end of today's doubleheader is the college pays tribute to College President Dr. Margaret Fitzpatrick, who you see right now standing at midcourt along with Director of Athletics Nicole Ryan. Pre-game festivities for our seniors starting in just a moment. So that means we're going to send it to the voice of the Spartans, Brad Sarno.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to Aquinas Hall. Before today's women's basketball contest, we'd like to take a moment to honor our graduating seniors for all of their hard work and dedication to Spartan athletics, the classroom, and the community. Joining us on the court is the Spartan women's basketball coaching staff led by head coach Kim Lusk, college president Dr. Margaret Fitzpatrick, and director of athletics Nicole Ryan. Our first senior is entering her 117th career game, which includes 92 wins. She enters a career winning percentage of 77.3%. She has recorded 795 points behind a 46% field goal percentage and has grabbed 410 rebounds. Known for her athletic hustle plays and fun-loving nature, please welcome to the court with her family, number 2, Missy Sadler. Tell Jill to set the clock. Damn it. Ladies and gentlemen, Missy Sadler. Our next senior is entering her 43rd game as a Spartan. She's been an active part of 66 career wins with a career field goal percentage of 45.7%. She's a great teammate and known for her great sense of humor and contagious laugh. Please welcome to the court with her family, number 24, Sky Burris. Ladies and gentlemen, Sky Burris. Our next senior is entering her 95th game as a Spartan, has been an active part of 72 wins, and has a career winning percentage of 76.6%. She has recorded 529 points, 433 rebounds, 133 assists, and 93 steals. Known as the Spartans' leader and great teammate, please welcome to the court with her family, number 25, Kellyanne Averill. Ladies and gentlemen, Kellyanne Averill. And ladies and gentlemen, our final senior, last but certainly never least, is a redshirt senior who is entering her 109th game today. She has been an active part of 83 wins during her time at STAC and enters today's game with a career total of 992 points, 426 rebounds, and 138 steals. Known as the Spartans' hype player and natural leader, please welcome to the court with her family, number 13, Ruth Adams. Ladies and gentlemen, one final round of applause for our graduating seniors, Ruth Adams, Kellyanne Averill, Sky Burris, and Missy Sadler. Once again, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to Aquinas Hall for today's East Coast Conference Women's Basketball Contest featuring the University of the District of Columbia Firebirds and your St. Thomas Aquinas College Spartans. Fans, at this time, we ask that you please rise, if you are able, and kindly remove all caps and salute to our flag. as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet today's starting lineups. First, for the visiting UDC Firebirds. A 5'10 junior guard from Gainesville, Virginia, number 2, Danielle Harrington. A 5'7 freshman guard from Waldorf, Maryland, number 3, Latavia Jackson. A 5'8 freshman guard from King George, Virginia, number 20, Halia Ellis. A 5'10 junior forward from Baltimore, Maryland, number 21, Mia Boyd. And a 5'6 senior guard from Mechanicsville, Maryland, number 22, Tyra Coombs. The head coach of UDC, John Nakpodia. He is assisted by Raven Gerald, Jasmine Rich, and Rodney Williams. And now, the starting lineup for your St. Thomas Aquinas College Spartans. A 5'7 redshirt freshman guard from Valley Cottage, New York, number 0, Sarah Serbeck. A 6-foot senior forward from Milton, New York, number 2, Missy Sadler. A 5'8 senior guard from San Diego, California, number 13, Ruth Adams. A 6'1 senior forward from Bayville, New York, number 24, Sky Burris. And a 5'11 senior forward from Saugerties, New York, number 25, Kelly Ann Averill. The head coach of your Spartans is Kim Lusk. She is assisted by Glenn Jensen, Kamani Jackson, and Marsan Dunning.
And thank you so much, Brad Sarno. I know this is always a bittersweet day for those of us who spend a lot of time around any program, really, on Senior Day. And, of course, we know that Brad Sarno lives, breathes, and dies Spartan sports. So always an interesting day getting to celebrate the career of those who have done so much for a very successful STAC program, not to mention ECC championships, NCAA tournament berths, and the Spartans are looking to continue that tradition with a victory today and heading into the playoffs. And again, Robert, this is a big one. St. Thomas Aquinas coming in second place in the ECC. They're one game behind Damon. The Wildcats opened the door yesterday with a loss at Malloy. They go to play New York Institute of Technology tomorrow. And as we saw the Bears playing very well lately, we saw them here a week or so ago defeat St. Thomas Aquinas. Well, that's a big game. The Spartans could still end up with first place based on the virtue of their sweep over Malloy in the regular season. That's one of the many tiebreakers. And again, we're going to try to break down the nuclear physics that go into this postseason outlook right now. Just know that UDC wins today and they're in. That's the important thing. And STAC wins, they still have a chance to capture the regular season crown. Regardless, STAC has already earned a bye to the semifinals of the ECC tournament, which will be played at the University of the District of Columbia 1 week from today. Opening tip won by the Firebirds. They're moving from our broadcast left to right, wearing the road black uniforms, red numbers and letters, Firebirds across the number on front. And happy Senior Day, Kellyanne Averill. What more fitting way to start it than by drawing a charge?
Yeah, the trademark of Kellyanne Averill this season, the ability to give up her body. She wastes no time, 12 seconds in, takes an offensive charge, gets stacked the ball.
Latavia Jackson called for her first foul. It's the first foul of the game. St. Thomas Aquinas, first possession as Sarah Serback hands off for Ruth Adams on the right wing. Here's Averill, bounce past the Sky Burris. Burris is rejected by Mia Boyd. No reset on the shot clock, down to 10. Serback with plenty of time. Serback starts to move on Danielle Harrington. Nowhere to go. Shot clock at 4. Serback, a lot of dribbling, pulls back, fires, grazes the rim, and Missy Sadler, a fitting Senior Day tribute, getting the offensive rebound.
4 of the 5 starters out there for STAC. The honorary seniors in today's game, Sky Burris and Sadler, are already getting their hands on the basketball.
And the 5th player is a freshman, Sarah Serback. Shot clock was down to 7 after the reset, but that will change again as Mia Boyd is called for the foul on the entry pass. The Spartans have had about 40 seconds worth of this possession so far. 20 on the reset after the foul. It's the second of the quarter on the Firebirds. Adams crosses over, puts it up with the right hand, goes glass and gets the roll. Ruth Adams is now 6 points away from the 1,000 mark in her career.
And Ruth Adams there, a little bit of an isolation play on the right wing. She lowers her shoulder, gets a little bit of separation, and bangs off the glass for the first 2 points of the game.
Spartans with a convincing victory at Bridgeport Wednesday night. Ball fake by Latavia Jackson, floats it up and in. Jackson's got the Firebirds on the board, tied at 2. Ruth Adams, as she has done so often, took charge of that game. Burris fires from the foul line and hits. Only her 4th field goal of the season. Burris has been plagued by injury and ailment throughout her career, and that gets a big rise out of the crowd. Spartans by 2. And Burris picks up STAC's first foul of the game on the post-up as she was defending Mia Boyd. STAC by a pair. Here's Jackson. Ruth Adams aggressively guarding her. Adams turns her almost into the steal, and now Serback comes away with the steal. And she didn't tightrope the sideline right in front of the scorer's table.
Serback did her best trying to tightrope that sideline going down the court as she had Sadler going the opposite side, but just gets that shoe on the outside line.
Ruth Adams created that one. She stepped to the weak side against Jackson, and Jackson turned right back into it. It really threw her out of rhythm. You could almost feel that turnover coming. Adams with the big block on Latavia Jackson. Well, Ruth Adams has always come to play today. She stutter steps, moving on Ellis. Instead kicks it back out to Serback.
And Adams should be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year in the East Coast Conference, averaging 2.5 steals, just under a block a game, and 5 rebounds, a complete two-way player.
Sadler fires good. Missy Sadler has struggled of late, and that has got to bring a big smile to Coach Kim Lusk's face.
If you can get Sadler going from the free throw line in, that's where she loves to do her work, and she's incredibly efficient at it. 1 for 1 to start the game for Missy Sadler.
She was so prolific from that spot earlier in the year, and it's just really hit problems. We don't know of any injury or anything, but sometimes players just get out of whack. And she is such a weapon. Offensive foul called on UDC. That foul is on Latavia Jackson, and that's number 2 on her. So John Nakpodia will have to go to the bench early on. Tyra Coombs also coming to the bench. Into the game is Maya Thomas. And see who she's joined by, Hunter Rosen. So Spartans with a 4-point lead and the ball. Again, UDC wins, and they're in the tournament. That has a little extra meaning for both of these UDC teams, as they are hosting the conference semis and finals. Now, if they win, they'd be playing Wednesday night, and they'd be playing on the road, which means they'd still have to win another game to get a home court edge. 2 on the shot clock. Adams splits the defense, and she's fouled on the way up, and boy, that was a bailout, as Ruth Adams was caught with the shot clock winding down. And Halia Ellis called for her first. That foul was called by Kristen Quinn. The officiating crew, Kamal Pasha, Richard Wright, and Kristen Quinn. 4th foul already on UDC, and that's the first on Ellis. Zaria Thomas into the game as Sky Burris gets a seat productive start for Burris. And now Thomas, who started 25 of the previous 26 games on the floor with 6:41 to play in the first. Ruth Adams makes the first of two. The countdown clock clicks down to 5 points to the 1,000 mark. Bends the knees, the second, rims out. And on the baseline, not able to tiptoe was Maya Thomas. Thomas usually in the starting lineup for this UDC crew. She started 24 of 27 before today. So John Nakpodia getting Coombs into the lineup. That shot is blocked, and here come the Firebirds on the run, trailing by 5. Left side, here's Ellis. Ellis pass swatted with both hands by Missy Sadler. UDC still with plenty of time resetting the offense as Rosen looks for help. Right side for Maya Thomas. Thomas onto the blocks for Boyd. Boyd spins in traffic, goes glass with the left hand. Nice finish for Mia Boyd.
A great job turning into the teeth of the defense, going to the strong side hand on her left, and she banks it in.
Boyd averaging just under 5 points per game, but a strong pivot move there. Serback straightaway passes up the three, steps through, goes up with the left hand and gets the roll. First points of the game for Sarah Serback. She's had a not atypical freshman year, off to a very strong start, then hit a bit of a rut toward the midway point of the season. Kellyanne Averill called for the foul on the blocks. And Serback has started to pick up the offensive production of late. She's still been steady with her handle and has briefly lost the starting lineup spot from Kim Luskin. She's got it back. As STAC in transition, Thomas didn't capture cleanly, but hands back outside as the Spartans up by 5 reset the offense. STAC has had a hard time of late. They had dropped 3 of 4 before Wednesday night's victory at Bridgeport. If they can string together a second strong outing, Adams for 3, good! Ruth Adams with a 4 bouncer on the rim, STAC by 8.
A friendly roll there from the home gym at Aquinas Hall as Ruth Adams gets it off the back part of the rim and it drops.
Even the rim is feeling sympathetic today on senior day as Adams got the roll there. Thomas, another great defender, got a hand on it, almost came up with the steal and eventually forces it. Boy, Sarah Serback, that's why Sarah Serback earned her spot back in the starting lineup. There was a little Harlem Globetrotters exhibition of dribbling there to not travel, keep that possession alive, and draw the foul. What a job by the freshman.
And that time, she gets to the ground, she catches the steal that was forced in the near side trap, tries to dribble her way out of it and draws a foul.
That is the 5th foul. We have not seen a ton of fouls called this year. We've mentioned it throughout the season. Point of emphasis seems to have been to let the players play, and they have. Fouls right now are 5-2. And it has been unusual to see a team go over the limit with 4:53 still to play in the quarter. But Sarah Serback, add to the accolades from that sequence, also gets to the line to shoot 2. Teardrop free throw is good. Serback, a 67% shooter from the stripe. Again, the lone freshman to start amidst the quartet of seniors. Second free throw attempt is nothing but net. 4 points for Serback. Spartans quickly up by 10. Remember, if UDC wins, they are in the tournament. If not, well, then it gets complicated. Pass down low and into the lane. A travel as Rosen didn't capture it cleanly and shuffled the pivot feet. Referee Richard Wright, a veteran of many years on the hardwood. Sarah Hare checking in for Firebirds. She replaces Rosen. Spartans with a 10-point lead midway through the first quarter, so STAC picking up where they left off against Bridgeport. Sadler catches, faces the basket, pulls up from 12. It's good. Missy Sadler 2 for 2 from that spot, and John Nakpodia has seen enough. He knows his team cannot let this game get away from them early, And right now it's been all St. Thomas Aquinas. 4 minutes, 21 seconds to play in the first quarter. STAC 16, UDC 4.
STAC executing really well to start this game. They're flowing into their offense. The motion offense is what Kim Lusk is known for, getting good, clean looks at the basket and executing early.
So this is a good time to start breaking down some of the implications to this game. There are 9 teams in the East Coast Conference. That's for starters. Remember, LIU Post moving all the operations to Brooklyn the start of this season. So LIU Post dropped the conference down to 9 teams. 6 of those 9 qualify for the East Coast Conference tournament on both the men's and women's side. The top 2 teams in each side get a bye. That's what the men have earned. I'm sorry, the women have earned. STAC's women have earned a bye. So next Saturday, they will be playing in the ECC semifinals at the University of District of Columbia. STAC is 1 game behind Damon at 12-3, Damon at 13-2. The Wildcats lost yesterday at Malloy. They're playing New York Tech tomorrow. New York Tech is right in the rear view. Both Malloy and Tech are at 11-4. If Damon loses that game and the Spartans win today, STAC would have the top seed in the conference tournament and would tie for the regular season championship with Damon. Again, that's only if Damon loses. Damon can clinch the regular season title on its own with a victory tomorrow at NYIT. That kind of gives you an idea of the top half of the bracket. Malloy and Tech tied at 11-4. We'll get into those tiebreakers in a moment as we're back underway. Here's Desiree Gackler in close. The rebound grabbed by Danielle Harrington, and she leaned in and traveled as Kamel Pasha on the baseline had the call. Looked at his partner Richard Wright, who nodded in affirmation. Good teamwork by the officials. Good defense by the Spartans.
That time on the rebound, she gets the rebound at the block. It takes that little step in, creates a little bit of space, but she traveled out dribbling the basketball. STAC gets the ball back.
So often you see the bigs want to go straight up, and sometimes the answer is to kick it back out and reset the offense. And that time, the lack of patience creating a turnover as the Spartans up by 12 with the ball. If there was one thing I think above all for the Spartans, Adams steps through traffic, goes glass. Holy smoke. Ruth Adams, with that basket, has hit the 1,000 mark. And I'm going to tell you, if you want to take a highlight reel snapshot of what 1,000 points looks like for Ruth Adams, that basket was the one to do it as Adams split a cadre of defenders, went up, nice touch off the glass for the finish. And Adams now getting celebrated here as the Spartans have taken an 18-4 lead. You see College President Dr. Margaret Fitzpatrick with the big hug, Director of Athletics Nicole Ryan. Spartans all come out for a picture on the floor, and real contrast here as John Nakpodia to our left has the Firebirds circling and trying to. This may be an advantage for UDC because right now they need something to change the momentum, and this is as good as anything as the Spartans celebrate on the floor. A lot of hoopla going on right now for St. Thomas Aquinas in the midst of an important game. And that break in the action.
Basically used a second timeout for UDC if you want to look at it that way.
Essentially, yeah. And I think Nakpodia might have had to be close to calling another one. That kind of gave him one, and he used it to full advantage. We'll see if the Firebirds come out with any kind of fire lit under them. As dribbling through traffic, King might have taken the extra step. We play on as King has it with Serbeck guarding her. Up top, Danielle Harrington. Harrington bounce pass into the corner. Baseline jumper a little bit too hard for Sarah Hare. Offensive rebound, Firebirds another shot. Maya Thomas off the mark, and Ruth Adams with the board. Well, we're just under 7 minutes into this one, and St. Thomas Aquinas has opened up a 2-touchdown lead. Again, the Spartans need a win for a chance at first place, and a 5-second violation is called as Kellyanne Averill was hung out to dry. Nobody came to the ball hard. Serbeck did late.
Well, they were trying to set up a back screen for Adams to go underneath the hoop, and it would look like it was open from our vantage point here broadcasting, but on the court it must have been a little too tight of a window, and a good defensive stance by UDC.
And again, very often, just because we can see it from here doesn't mean the player can see it on the floor. Nice entry pass, but Harrington misses the layup, and Serbeck strips the rebound. Boy, Danielle Harrington had great position there, but couldn't finish. Rare opportunity in the blocks. On the dish, Ruth Adams tosses it out of bounds, intending for Zaria Thomas in the corner. Now Victoria Carisco and Lexi Huertas come in. Ruth Adams gets a rest, and we'll get another big hand for that 1,000-point accomplishment. Sarah Serbeck also comes to the bench. Kim Lusk, stoic as usual, giving both of her players a hand. Very hard for a coach not to get caught up in the hoopla of the day. And, of course, Coach Lusk, a veteran in her 12th season, starting all 4 seniors. Sky Burris contributed with a basket early on. And what I believe is her first career start. Into the corner, it comes for Sarah Hare. Coach needs her team to focus. She can let them get involved in some of the fun and festivities going on, but it can be a very difficult thing, and Kim Lusk is as good as anybody. If you were watching the pregame warm-up, Spartan seniors have a tradition. Sadler forced her way through, was fouled by a pair of Firebirds, and almost muscled that shot in as Danielle Harrington is called for her first. Well-run play by STAC.
Her first. Team's over the limit.
Kayla Moore, the freshman, just pulling her jersey on at the scorer's table. You don't see that very often. She checks in for the first time. Let's go back to those pregame warm-ups. You may or may not have noticed that the seniors on the floor were wearing T-shirts. And if you couldn't read what they said, on the back it says, "I survived the KL program." That's something that goes back pretty much to Kim Lusk's first graduating class. At that time, the seniors took it upon themselves to wear that message. And since it has been embraced by the coaching staff as a sign of what the expectations are, it is not easy to play basketball in St. Thomas Aquinas. You have to be a certain type of person on and off the floor. And Kim Lusk's success shows completely how well that program has worked. In the baseline, in the blocks, Gackler back rims it. Long rebound comes out for King. King looks for help and sends it outside for the crossover for Ellis. Nice entry pass on the blocks as Alexis King finishes. That broke a long dry spell for the Firebirds.
It's a really good possession, though, there for DC as they able to rework their motion offense after the offensive rebound, and they get a motion layup on the left side.
Brings it to a 14-point game, and if you're John Nakpodia looking for some momentum, that possession may give it to you. Burris has it stripped almost twice by Kayla Moore, but still came away with it. Huertas with the shot clock winding down, and that time Huertas drawing the foul with a good move to the hoop with the shot clock winding down. Alexis King called for her first foul. Remember, Latavia Jackson, the freshman, who averages just under a dozen points per game, is on the bench with 2 fouls. Huertas misses the first of 2. Jackson second on the team in scoring behind Maya Thomas, who didn't start today. Huertas has her first point of the game, part of that dynamic backcourt tandem, along with Sarah Serback. Kim Lusk early in the game, offensive foul is called on the moving screen as Kayla Moore goes to the deck, but is called for the foul, adding insult to injury. Kim Lusk has liked to do this early in games, leave Serback out there to start, bring Huertas in. And then in the second half, if circumstances dictate, she'll put both of those tremendous ball handlers on the floor at the same time. It has been quite a combination for STAC as we're inside a minute to go.
Not only are they really good ball handlers, but they have the ability to spread the court and open up the inside. You can potentially have a lineup up there, Huertas, Serback, and Zaria Thomas out there all on the perimeter with Sadler and Ruth Adams downstairs. A ton of versatility for this STAC team.
Something we saw a lot during the Jenna Erickson days. Well, that one is just ripped away by Alexis King. King with Averill back in a hurry. King pulls up, goes glass, and gets the finish. Alexis King has 4 points.
It's a good clean strip there by King, who doesn't give in to the pressure. You had 2 STAC defenders back. Keeps control of her body and lays it up and in.
Little 4-1 burst here for the Firebirds as we're down to the last 20 seconds of the quarter. 2-second difference. Burris loses it on the way up. And the Firebirds on the run. Here's Ellis. Ellis kicks to the right corner. King passes up the 3. 9 seconds to go. So the Firebirds are going to hold for 1. 6 seconds to go. Left side, here's Ellis. Ellis pulls up in traffic and gets the baby jumper. Well, the first quarter comes to an end, but if there was any momentum to be had, you'd have to say UDC has it. St. Thomas Aquinas with a 21-10 lead, although the Firebirds finished the quarter with a 6-1 mini run. And I think, again, on the Firebird side of the ledger, you have to be looking for any signs of optimism that you can get, especially with your second leading scorer on the bench with 2 fouls.
And they put that together very nicely. Like you said, Steve, the 6-1 run that goes on for UDC. They force a couple of turnovers, and they got a really good possession. They put up 6 points. At 21-10 now, it was looking really bad for them as it was 20-4 as they went into that celebration for Ruth Adams. So whatever Coach Nekpodia said to his team something clicked because they put together a nice little run as the quarter ended.
And I'll tell you what, if that break was good for UDC, this one is really good for the Spartans. UDC has not quite battled all the way back into this game yet. It's still a double-figure lead with a long way to go. But I think this is a great opportunity for Kim Luss to do, as we discussed, get her team back in and say, okay, let's get our focus back. Let's get past all the hoopla of the day. We still have work to take care of. And UDC's not going to go away. They can't go away. They don't have that luxury.
Yeah, DC has a ton to play for today. Like Steve mentioned, they're hosting the semifinal and tournament final of the East Coast Conference. But if they win today, they get into that first round. They'll have to play their way to the semifinals. They have a ton to play for. The heart's going to be there for this team all game. And like Steve said, this timeout for head coach Kim Lusk, a way to refocus her team.
Back to the standings. Malloy and New York Tech are both 11-4. They both play tomorrow. Malloy plays Roberts Wesleyan. New York Tech plays Damon. So those are tough battles for each. Roberts Wesleyan is about the only thing that's secured in the playoff picture, as it were. They're locked into the number 5 spot, so they'll be traveling Wednesday night. They just don't know where yet. Then you start getting to the bubble. Travel on Zaria Thomas, not the way STAC wants to start the second quarter. That playoff bubble right now has UDC at 4-11. This is their final game. Queens is done. They're 4-12. Bridgeport 3-12. And oddly, only one of those three teams will make the playoffs, and the team right now that's at the bottom has an excellent chance because Bridgeport's playing at Mercy today. And if the Purple Knights win, they would win tiebreakers if it's a 3-way tie. We're pretty sure of that, so take our word for it. Well, again, we'll get more into that as we have the chance. UDC coming out of the turnover as it's handed to the right side. Zaria Thomas giveth, and Zaria Thomas taketh away as she comes up with the steal. Adams on the blocks. Adams turns into traffic. Fall away 10-footer is good. That is majestic.
And when Adams makes a decision that she wants to put the ball into the basket, not a lot of teams and players can stop her in a one-on-one game.
10 points for Adams in 11 minutes of play. Pull up from the foul line, way off the mark by Maya Thomas. Thomas, Firebirds' leading scorer, has been off the sheet thus far. If you're not getting production out of your top 2 scorers, well, Adams pulls up from 10, says, okay, you're going to give me this shot, I'm going to take it. You have to defend her, and it's so hard to do it because her first step is so tremendous. Into the blocks, baby jump hook for Kayla Moore is too hard. Carisco starts the Spartans the other way as Serbeck crosses the timeline. Spartans by 15.
The STAC defense isn't doing anything out of the ordinary. They're really keeping their hands straight up. They're playing good body defense and hand defense without fouling, making it difficult for UDC to put the ball in the hoop.
And I think that's a great observation because UDC doesn't have that real dominant type of player. Sadler goes to the glass. That's 6 points for Missy Sadler. There's really no one player you have to shut down, as you very often see with the likes of New York Institute of Technology. You got a Meg Nolmeyer. Of course, there's a lot of other talent on that team. You look at the non-playoff teams. You have the Amber Brown with Mercy. A few of them out there. There's not one player you can really point to with UDC. Left side 3 is good. Talia Ellis has 5 points on the game. The freshman starting to heat up a little bit as her team's within 14.
A little bit of the loose ball there, collapsed 3 STAC defenders, and the kick out back to Ellis as she drains the 3.
Adams backs off Ellis but misses the jumper. Here's Ellis on the left side, and she took the step before she put the ball down. A couple of bemused looks from Firebirds on the floor, namely Alexis King and Halia Ellis. John Akpodia claps the hands, and I'm not sure if it's in frustration at the travel or at the call. Substitutions for St. Thomas Aquinas. Sarah Serbeck comes to the bench. Lexi Huertas back in. The only sub at the moment as Huertas crosses over. Change on defense now as Ellis not being given the Ruth Adams assignment. It's going to Danielle Harrington. So John Akpodia trying a different look. Adams misses that shot, and Victoria Carisco came over the back on the rebound attempt. So the foul is the first on Carisco, first on either team in the second quarter.
That's her first, team's first of the quarter.
A little surprised that Latavia Jackson has spent so much time on the bench, even with 2 fouls, even with a long way to go. Pull-up jumper by Ellis is good. Well, Ellis is keeping her team afloat. She's got 7 points.
And all 5 points for her team here in the second quarter.
STAC by a dozen. Huertas pulls the dribble out. Here's Averill. Up high, Sadler. Sadler with a beautiful move, and she traveled. Not sure about that one. It was close. Sadler may have lifted that pivot foot before she took off to the basket.
The ball fake really had the defender off her, and it opened up the entire lane. And like you said, just a little close to when the ball hit the ground and that pivot foot moving.
Huertas back to the bench. Surback right back in. Kim Luss keeping both point guards fresh. Left side, here's Ellis. Surback guarding her. Here's Danielle Harrington. Up high, Thomas. Thomas pulls up from the baseline from 12 and knocks it down.
Basket by number 11, Maya Thomas.
First points of the game for Maya Thomas. I don't think Kim Lusk would like her getting that clean a look. Thomas knocks that one out of bounds into the UDC bench, so the Spartans will keep it with 23 on the shot clock. The lead has been trimmed to 10 points. Spartans have led by as many as 16. Kellyanne Averill amidst some defending by the UDC coaching staff in front of the bench. Not a lot of room on the sidelines here at Aquinas Hall, as our repeat viewers will know. Surback tries to test the lane, nothing there, so she wisely pulls it out. 9 on the shot clock, tries the double team. The double team gets the steal. Surback tried to dribble through the double team. It's a turnover as Ellis comes away with it. So Ellis really getting her team in gear. What a great sign that is to see a freshman perform like that. Sadler steals the entry pass. Here's Averill. Sadler stutter steps, leans into traffic, and is fouled from the backside. Believe the foul is going to be on Gackler. Yep. Gackler with the help defense on the backside picks up her first.
UDC foul to number 34, Desiree Gackler. That is her first, team's first of the quarter.
You know, you mentioned it, Robert, but since that 1,000-point celebration, the Spartans have been outscored 13-7. Sadler misses the first of 2. Second is good.
You have to wonder what Coach Nick Podia said to his team while they were doing the celebration. Now, granted, it's an historic moment for a college player to reach 1,000 points in her time playing, but you have to wonder what he said to his team in the huddle, that they could be taking this game too lightly, step up their pressure and their ability to score.
Backdoor feed stolen by Carisco, goes coast to coast. I don't know if I've seen Victoria Carisco try to go from one end to the other with the dribble, but she does it effectively and draws the foul on Ellis. That's number 2 on her.
That is her second.
So with the short bench, UDC now has 2 players in foul trouble. Kayla Moore thought sure she was coming out of the game, didn't realize that Ellis had 2 fouls, and it was her, in fact, that was getting the hook. That puts Victoria Carisco on the line, where she's a 69% shooter. One more shot for Carisco, looking for her first point of the game, and she has it. STAC back up by a dozen. Oh, the Spartan offensive flow has certainly been disrupted at the very least. Back in, boy, Moore had that all alone and missed the shot, but it goes out off Averill. So 20 on the shot clock. Baseline inbound for Alexis King. She finds Danielle Harrington. Good defense by Carisco, not biting on the first fake. Pull-up 3 is an air ball by Maya Thomas. Thomas with the most 3-pointers on this team, with 69 on the season, but only shooting 28%. So UDC not a big perimeter shooting team. As Ruth Adams checks back in for Victoria Carisco. Carisco did what she was brought in the game to do, play defense, got to the line. Here's Surback, hands off for Thomas. Sadler guarded aggressively by Danielle. I'm sorry, not by Harrington, but by Mia Boyd. Averill goes to the basket with nice touch with the left hand.
A little bit there of a broken play there for STAC. They were trying to get Thomas cutting off the high ball screen. Averill comes up with the basketball, goes to the layup with her left hand.
STAC back on top by 14 as we approach the 4-minute mark in the first half. Alexis King with the behind-the-back dribble, pulls up from the elbow and is fouled by Sarah Serbak. That's number 1 on Serbak.
I think they gave it to Sadler.
They gave that to Sadler. I didn't see Missy Sadler anywhere in the area, but that is her first instead of Serbak. Alexis King for the first foul shot of the game for the Firebirds. Makes it true. 66% shooter from the charity stripe. John Nakpodia coaching his players between plays.
Back in the game for the Spartans, number 1, Lexi Huertas.
Kim Lusk going frequently to that rotation of Huertas and Serbak.
Huertas, only a sophomore, so 2 young point guards that head coach Kim Lusk has. A lot of games to be played for these 2 point guards.
Yeah, there's always a tendency to look and see who are the seniors you're going to lose. How are you going to replace a Ruth Adams? A Missy Sadler with the ball now. 7 on the shot clock. Adams pulls up for a deep 3, way off the mark, didn't touch the rim. So it would have been a shot clock violation even if the Spartans had come away with it. Alexis King starts things the other way. Into the corner, slicing right to left. Little jump hook for Mia Boyd is off.
Huertas wanted to run there, but Kim Lusk wants to run a half-court set. She slowed Huertas right down.
So the Spartans content to play the half-court game against the zone. Reaching in for the steal is Dana Harrington, who's come in. There are 2 Harringtons. Danielle and Dana. Foul line jumper by Moore. Averill with the carom. Both teams now slowing down on the offensive end. Left corner, Huertas for 3, good! Lexi Huertas, Spartans by 15.
The ability of Lexi Huertas off the bench to hit the outside jump shot forces the defense to respect her abilities.
That's the first 3-pointer of the game for the Spartans. That pass was intended for Dana Harrington. And it was going wide. Harrington pulled her hand out of the way like she thought there was, I don't know if she thought it was deflected or if there was somebody behind her. The only person behind her was referee Richard Wright, and the ball hit him. So he made it very clear, yes, that ball is out of bounds, and it was untouched, as we had a great view of that from our angle here at midcourt. Huertas fires another 3. That one was online, but back rim. Ruth Adams just wants that rebound and takes it. Zaria Thomas straight away for 3. Halfway down and wouldn't go.
The effort that Ruth Adams brings to both sides of the floor is absolutely incredible.
Right corner and an offensive foul. Kellyanne Averill on the deck picks up her second. Earlier in the season, we spoke about the fact that college basketball is starting to move to a more detailed stat system. It's called the Genius System. Kellyanne Averill is going to be very sad that that wasn't implemented during her 4 years because it keeps track of who draws charges. And Kellyanne Averill might be nearing an NCAA record for charges drawn if that sort of thing had been kept on a regular basis.
I mean, it should be trademarked for Kellyanne Averill, the amount of times that she's taken a charge this season, just here at home, regardless, and even more that she's done on the road.
And you go back to Kim Lusk, and she's always found players like that. Adams fires a 3. That's short. There's always Spartans out there that are willing to draw charges. You see it in Missy Sadler. You see it in everybody on the floor. An air ball is put up by Maya Thomas. Boy, Maya Thomas is trying to force her way into this game. And you could see the frustration on her case. Latavia Jackson checks back in with those 2 fouls.
And Thomas leading scorer on this Firebirds team, averaging just under 13 a game. But like you said, Steve, forcing the shot's not the way you're going to get into this game. You're going to have to let the game a little more come to you a little bit. Try to get some easy baskets to open up your confidence and the floor.
And she knows the magnitude of this game as Sadler ducks under and goes up with the right hand. 11 first half points for the senior from Milton, New York, with a large family contingent in the house as always. Drive on the baseline, and I believe Carisco called for the hand check as she's just come back in. So that's 2 quick fouls on Victoria Carisco.
Victoria Carisco, her second, team's third.
3 team fouls apiece as we're inside the final minute of the first half. On the baseline, here's Jackson. Jackson goes up with the right hand too hard. Sadler can't grab the rebound from Gackler. Second shot is missed, and now a foul, and that's going to walk the Spartans the length of the floor as Gackler picks up her second. So now 4 Firebirds with 2 fouls apiece. It's not a shooting foul, sorry about that. It's only the 4th team foul. 46.4 to go in the half, and Sky Burris checks back in for Kellyanne Averill. So Burris getting to start the half and most likely finish the half. 16-second difference between the shot and game clock. I think right now Kim Loss might be happier to not have the chance to hold for the last shot. It's something STAC has not been good at this year. Sadler ducks under, spins, pivots, fires, hits!
Any struggles that Missy Sadler had is quickly going away in this game as she's working her ability to maneuver her body downstairs and hit those 10 to 12-foot jump shots.
That's the ability that sends shivers through other coaches in the East Coast Conference. If Missy Sadler can do that. Shot clock is off now with 10 seconds to go. Right corner, here's Alexis King. King through a double team, finds Gackler. Kicked outside for a pull-up 3 is good! Tyra Coombs hits the 3 before the buzzer, but right now it will not make a big difference as we are at halftime at Aquinas Hall. St. Thomas Aquinas on top by a score of 38-22. Remember, if UDC, so we'll take this opportunity now to just give you why this matters so much to UDC. Mentioned Roberts Wesleyan locked into the 5 spot. So Damon STAC have buys. They will be in District of Columbia a week from today. Malloy and New York Tech are in. They will be hosting games on Wednesday night in their gymnasiums. That's quarterfinal action. Roberts Wesleyan is in the 5th spot. They could be at either Tech or Malloy. The 6th spot is up for grabs. If UDC loses this game, they trail by 16 right now. They'd be 4-12. Queens has done it 4-12, and Bridgeport is at mercy today. Bridgeport with a win, by my count, would win the tiebreaker and get in. Now that is not official. UDC has it in their hands. If they win, it's not going to matter. But that is what's going on. That is what's at stake. Mercy is eliminated at 2-13. They are the only team outside that has been locked out. And I'm not sure if Queens has a pathway in, just in looking at what's here. But nonetheless, we are going to step aside, take a brief time out, and let you watch the cheerleading and dance teams be honored on Senior Day. But right now, we're at halftime at Aquinas Hall with the score. St. Thomas Aquinas 38, University of the District of Columbia 22. Don't forget, the men's teams will be on the floor here about a half hour after the conclusion of this game. STAC against UDC, and that's another big one with playoff implications for both sides. We'll have all that coming up for you on the Spartan Sports Network, but we're going to step aside for a timeout with the score STAC 38, UDC 22. You're watching Spartan Basketball. Halftime at Aquinas Hall, where the St. Thomas Aquinas College Spartans lead the UDC Firebirds by a score of 38-22. Steve Balsa, Robert Goldberg with you. And the Spartans jumped on top early. STAC led this game at one point by a score of 20-4. The margin hasn't changed very much since then, but it doesn't need to for Kim Lusk's crew as they look to grab possibly a share of the ECC regular season championship. They won't know that at the end of today regardless if they do win, as Damon plays tomorrow at New York Institute of Technology. That's going to be a big game. Mentioned that Bridgeport is in the mix. Bridgeport is playing at Queens College right now. I'm sorry. Let me get that backed up a little bit. Bridgeport is playing at home against Mercy right now. Looking at the standings, trying to sort this out. If UDC does lose, they'd be 4-12. If Queens is finished at 4-12, Bridgeport is leading Mercy now at halftime. And that game is being played at the University of Bridgeport. See if we can get a score update for you. At halftime, Bridgeport leads Mercy 37-28. So it's a 9-point lead there for the Purple Knights. They could also finish at 4-12. And if they do, Bridgeport would be the 6th and final seed in the tournament by virtue of having swept UDC during the regular season. So that's what's at stake. We'll give you a quick rundown of the scores at halftime. For UDC, Halia Ellis leading the way with 7 points. Alexis King with 6. 3 for Tyra Coombs, 2 each for Latavia Jackson, Mia Boyd, and Maya Thomas. 22 first half points for the Firebirds. For St. Thomas Aquinas, 2 scorers in double figures already. Missy Sadler and Ruth Adams. Sadler with 13, Adams with 12. 4 each for Sarah Serback and Lexi Huertas. 2 for Sky Burris, Kellyanne Averill. 1 point for Victoria Carisco. And that rounds out 38 points first half scoring for St. Thomas Aquinas. You know, it's worth mentioning, Robert, because we're so used to Kim Lusk's rotation that I don't think either of us noticed until well into the first half. We have not seen Emily Preston in this game. And Preston had started 25 of the previous 36 games. She hasn't been on the floor at all. She's in uniform. She was in warm-ups. And right now, she just hasn't played. She's had a hard time of late and don't know exactly what the reason for that is. If we can get an update on it, we'll let you know. But I don't think it's an injury. UDC starts here to begin quarter number 3. It's handed outside for Latavia Jackson. Jackson fires a 3, front rim. Offensive rebound by Gackler is put in.
Basket by number 34.
It's an important possession there for UDC coming out of the half. The 3 to end the half for UDC plus those 2 points gives them a mini 5-0 run. It's a little quick.
Ruth Adams absorbs a lot of contact, throws one up high off the backboard, and the teams play on. Here's Halia Ellis. In transition, finds Alexis King. Jackson now steps back. Halia Ellis on the curl. Here's Alexis King. King in traffic is fouled, slicing through the lane, and that will send her to the line. UDC shot only 2 free throws in the first half, and 1 minute into quarter number 3, they're going to get a chance to match that as Ruth Adams is called for her first. Only 5 Spartan fouls in the entire first half. Victoria Carisco had 2. UDC was whistled for 12. 4 players with 2 each for the Firebirds, as the first is no good. King now 2 of 3 on the day from the line. Latavia Jackson, Halia Ellis. Second one's good. Alexis King and Desiree Gackler with 2 each. 7 points for Alexis King. That matches her season average. STAC by 13. Sarah Serback had some room off the dribble and decides to pull it back out. Kellyanne Averill with Harrington in her face. That's Danielle Harrington. We saw Dana briefly late in the first half. Averill in the left corner with 7 on the shot clock. Kicks it off for Sadler. Pulls up on a spinning move from 15.
I think Missy Sadler's putting to rest those struggles that she really well in the first half. Sadler shot 5 of 6 from the field, continues her hot shooting in this game.
15 points for Missy Sadler. Mentioned there are a lot of Sadlers, there are a lot of Averills in the house. We know viewing contingents from around the country tune in for those players. Great to see the Adams family here. No pun intended. That came out as I was saying it. Did not realize that was going there, and she's probably heard it before anyway. Here's Ruth Adams, right on time as we get back to basketball. Adams goes to split the defense and is well defended by Ellis. Well, that was a matchup that John Nakpodia changed in the first half, moving from Ellis to Harrington guarding Adams. That time Ellis did a good job moving her feet. That's a big handful for a freshman to have to handle on the defensive end.
And size-wise, they measure up at the exact same height. So the length that now Adams will have to deal with, something she didn't see a lot of in the first half.
We're getting a good look at Ellis. She has quickness. She stayed with Adams off that dribble. Into the blocks, here's Gackler. Gackler on Sadler, too high off the glass. Zaria Thomas got wiped out, drawing a big O from the crowd. And the ball comes loose. Nice save by Harrington. Down low on the blocks, here's Jackson, absorbs a lot of contact and hits the layup. Well, the officials letting everybody play on that sequence. It's back to a 13-point STAC lead. Adams had Ellis guarding her. Sadler was triple teamed on the blocks and is fouled. Believe not Danielle Harrington, Desiree Gackler. John Nakpodia wishing it was Harrington because she's only got one foul. Now Gackler's got 3. And that's going to get her right to the bench. Gackler, not a prolific scorer, averages under 3 points per game, but she's the type of body underneath that the Spartans do struggle with on occasion. Adams leans in, muscles her way to the basket. Good in the foul. I don't think it's the case, but right now it looks like Ruth Adams and Missy Sadler have a friendly competition going as to who can dominate the game more.
That time Ruth Adams is using the body, her athleticism, and her ability to create space to get right through the teeth of the defense in the middle of the paint and lay it up and in.
That foul was on Ellis, and that's number 3 on her. Boy, Ruth Adams has got the basketball gods looking out for her as she hit a three-pointer like that in the first half with the ball bouncing on the rim several times. Well, the score right now is Ruth Adams 15, Missy Sadler 15, and UDC 27. Good chance there by Jackson, comes up short. Adams starts the run back the other way. Spartans by 16. And again, for UDC, they've shown a couple of outbursts of making a run as Adams takes the lead on Sadler by a pair. And you just have the feeling, based on what you've seen in the first 23-plus minutes, that it's going to be very hard for UDC to match up with this STAC team in general and overcome an 18-point deficit. Pull up for a deep 3. Well, that'll help Alexis King from beyond the arc. 10 points for King.
And on cue, King answers Steve back saying, we're still going to try to get back into this game with a big 3.
That's right. We're in it. It's a 15-point game. Still a big mountain to climb for the Firebirds. Still plenty of time with 16 minutes left in regulation. Sadler turns, fires, hits. Welcome back, Missy Sadler, as she ties Adams at 17.
Yeah, the counting tracker for both of these girls, they're playing excellent basketball today. Against Sadler, that mid-range jump shot, her bread and butter, really working well.
And when she turns and fires without even thinking about it, just the automatic muscle memory reflex action, that's when she's at her best. And that shot hasn't been going lately. As with most shooters, that's just a matter of calibration. Right now, she is on fire. Pull-up jumper from the right side by Alexis King is off. Offensive rebound comes out for more, but she has it stripped. Ruth Adams on the release ahead of the field, and Adams misses the snowbird layup. Left side for 3. That one's off the mark from Thomas. Somehow you get the feeling that at this point in the game, both teams just kind of see where the result is going. I think under a more tense circumstance, you would have seen a lot more of a reaction from Ruth Adams out of missing a layup like that. Spartans using a little clock, still quarter and a half to go. Here's Averill. On the blocks, Adams, boy, she got bumped hard, gets the rebound and puts it in. There's a great example of playing through contact, continuing to play, and Ruth Adams gets the reward.
And Ruth Adams plays until she hears that whistle. Her motor is consistently going. That's just more proof of it there.
So many players of Adams' caliber, left side 3 is well short by Jackson, and now the Firebirds just firing up threes. So many players of Adams' caliber you will see complain about absorbing contact and not getting calls. Ruth Adams doesn't care. If she gets the foul call, she'll take the free throws. She'd rather rebound and shoot. And she's got 19 points to boast of because of it. And again, if you joined us late, in the early minutes of this game, she notched her 1,000th career point as Averill is fouled going to the basket by Kayla Moore, and that's number 2 on her.
UDC foul number 23. Kayla Moore, that is her second, team's third.
Ruth Adams getting a brief rest. Lexi Huertas in for Sarah Serback. Georgia Smith making her first appearance in the game as Missy Sadler will also get a rest. So the Sadler-Adams show, or the Adams-Sadler show, however you prefer, goes to the bench. Third team foul on the Firebirds. Averill makes the first of 2. 60% shooter from the line. 3 points on the day for the redshirt junior from Saugerty. She's being honored as a senior. She does have a year of eligibility because of knee injury that she suffered a couple of seasons ago, but is not going to use that redshirt year. Players have changed their mind before, so one never knows. And what a job she has done for the Spartans during her career as that Kim Lusk trademark defensive specialist. Averill has accepted and adopted that role. Draws charges, defends other teams' top scorers most of the time. Air ball put up there.
You know, it takes a special player to realize that role and really fall into it and make that impact on the team, because a lot of players, they want to score, they want to contribute to the points being put on the board. But the defensive specialist becomes such an important aspect of basketball, because if you can shut down the other team's best player, they now have to rely on their second and third option, and a lot of times that's just not good enough.
Dana Harrington is looking incredulously at referee Richard Wright, and she basically grabbed and spun Zaria Thomas as she made what would have been a clear backdoor cut to the basket. So that's the first foul on Dana Harrington. Fourth on UDC, 3:20 to play. Again, you go back through Kim Lusk's history, Teresa Dowling and Kim Varelis, players of that ilk, don't put a lot of points on the board during their time here. But they do what the team needs them to do, and it's been very important. I'm sure I'm missing a couple. And it looks like Victoria Carisco is being groomed for that role next as Averill looks to graduate this year. 7 on the shot clock. Here's Averill for Georgia Smith. Huertas puts it down with the left hand. Goes glass. Nice touch for Lexi Huertas. 6 points for the sophomore from Garnerville. Spartans by 22. 3 minutes to play here in quarter number 3.
And you've seen STAC try to use that shot clock and execute offensive possessions as Thomas forces a steal.
Huertas crosses the timeline. Again, a win today. Boy, Carisco took the extra step. She's going to look in a little bit of disbelief, and she has no case.
And that's one we saw perfectly from where we broadcast from right here at half court.
And Richard Wright was standing literally about 5 feet in front of Victoria Carisco and had a perfect view of the shuffle step before the pass off. You can almost see Carisco changing her mind there. Left side, long two-pointer put up by Alexis King is no good. UDC just settling for firing up shots right now. So I don't know if that's a white flag, but it's not really going to help them. This is not a three-point shooting team. It's a 22-point game nonetheless. Huertas almost came up with the steal. Sideline inbound for the Firebirds with 26 on the shot clock. 2:13 to play in the third quarter. Got to check on that out-of-town scoreboard as Mercy closing things up on Bridgeport. Again, the meaning for St. Thomas Aquinas, they've got to buy into the semis no matter what. They will finish either first or second. They do still have a chance. But if they win this game, and it looks like it's going that way, Carisco, nice rebound. And it will depend on what Damon does tomorrow. Spartans have the main tiebreaker, and that's the season series sweep over Malloy. Zaria Thomas on the feed from Georgia Smith misses. Carisco taps it out of bounds. Kamel Pasha right on top of that one.
That play was ran so perfectly that Smith actually passed the ball to Thomas before Thomas was even relatively in the area. And just the timing of that offensive play was executed perfectly.
Back into the game for the Spartans, number 24.
Sky Burris again coming in, replacing Kellyanne Averill. And again, maybe not as much actual physical time on the floor, but Sky Burris getting the time today that is normally apportioned for Emily Preston. She has not been on the floor today. At this point, gotta wonder if we're gonna see her. Foul is on Zaria Thomas, reaching in. Second team foul on the Spartans with 1:28 to play in the quarter. Only 7 fouls in the game to date for the Spartans. And again, we talked about the onus on the officials for calling less fouls, letting the players decide games. Our last home game, so we'll bring it up one last time. That is a wonderful thing. Keep doing that next year and in years to come. Let the players play. It's not to say don't call fouls, but hand checks 40 feet away from the basket, unnecessary. And I think it has improved the quality of the game from beginning to end throughout this entire season.
It's kept a real consistent flow of the game. The referee's not controlling what's going on the court.
Sky Burris was fighting for position, and Kayla Moore tried to block her path and was called for the foul. That's 3 on Moore. And the Firebirds are over the limit. That'll send Georgia Smith to the line. Smith, a perfect 8 of 8 on the season. From the stripe. No points for style. It only has to go through the hole. 1 more to go. I think she practices them that way. Georgia Smith, 10 of 10 on the season. That'll put her in the tie for the national lead in free throw percentage. Yeah, I know, it's a cheap joke. What are you going to do? Inside a minute to play here in quarter number 3, 24-point lead for St. Thomas Aquinas. Here's Dana Harrington, pulls up from the foul line and nails the jumper. 16-second difference between the shot and game clock. Burris at the right elbow. Burris puts it down, hands outside for Huertas. Huertas slices through the lane and floats it home. 8 points for Huertas. And the Spartans starting to share the wealth with the two-headed Sadler Adams on the bench. Carisco comes away with a loose ball on the mishandle by the Firebirds. Too hard off the basket, but it's a pass for Georgia Smith, who puts it in without even rippling the twine. Drive on the baseline is Harrington. That would be Dana Harrington, and she's bodied by Georgia Smith on the way past. First foul on Georgia Smith. 1.3 seconds to play in the quarter. It's only the third team foul on St. Thomas Aquinas. Harrington outside with the clock expiring, and the three-point shot is off. Officials didn't wave it off, so guessing it would have gone, but it's a moot point. 3 quarters in the books here at Aquinas Hall. Senior day. Last home game on the women's side for sure. And it sees St. Thomas Aquinas with a commanding 58-32 lead. Again, the Spartans will get the bye as Wednesday night conference tournament action starts. I'll tell you what, the fortunes have really changed at in the Park City. Mercy has stormed back from a 9-point halftime deficit and leads Bridgeport 55-53 going into the fourth quarter of that game. So again, signs of life for UDC. We know that, well, actually we don't, because that tiebreaker, those tiebreakers could depend on the outcome of tomorrow's games. But again, this is part of what we were spending a fair amount of time before the game trying to rifle through. And if UDC and Queens end up tied, not sure what the tiebreaker was there. I think UDC would have it.
I think you're correct. I think it's what we spoke about. I think UDC would have that tiebreaker.
And at this point, you'd have to expect that they don't know what's going on in that contest. Just look back into the ECC. You'd sent out some notes on what the potential tiebreakers are.
To start the fourth quarter, Spartans possess the basketball.
Yeah, Queens is out on the women's side. Nope, sorry, that's the men's side. Have to sort that out as Averill loses it and goes to the deck.
And the men's side gets even crazier with tiebreakers, and we'll probably touch upon that the second game of this doubleheader.
Yeah.
But just more stuff with the men's side that blows away what
we
we're going to be
will,
talking about.
and what's making it more complicated is the fact that UDC and Queens are in both of these nightmare scenarios. So trying to remember what was what with all the tiebreakers has become a little more challenging than one would hope. UDC down by 26, and hard to imagine. Not a lot of teams are going to put up 26 and a quarter on St. Thomas Aquinas. Drive to the basket, offensive foul. Third one of the game drawn by Kellyanne Averill. Happy Senior Day.
No basket on the play. UDC foul to number 20.
And she comes up, checking the nose, checking the chiclets. All the teeth are in place.
First of the quarter.
And a laugh.
Back in the game for UDC, number 10, Alexis King.
You have to think, is there an over-under that she sets for herself for charges taken with her teammates or with head coach Kim Lutz? Because she's always on the floor for this team.
Well, that's the fourth foul on Halia Ellis. So the freshman has had a pretty impressive day, 7 points. And she looks very much to be the future of this Firebirds team, which could be seeing its season come to an end today. Averill has it deflected and travels, as looked like Dana Harrington got a hand on that one. Sarah Hare and Danielle Harrington back in for UDC. Drive to the basket here by King. Victoria Carisco slides on those knee pads and comes away with the steal. Ruth Adams is on the floor, goes to the basket, lays it in, and she's fouled on the play. Pardon the chuckle, but it just looks like she can do that at will.
When she gets that first step on her defender, the help defense she does usually isn't quick enough to keep up with Ruth Adams just because of her ability, the athleticism that she has.
21 points for Adams. And completes the three-point play. Well, Ruth Adams is making her final home game at Aquinas Hall a memorable one. Huertas knocks that one out of bounds. Might have gotten away with a foul, even though it was inadvertent contact as she low-bridged Alexis King. Stefania Georgiou now coming in, replacing Victoria Carisco. So Kim Lusk with 8.5 to go. Starting to go to the bench. She can look forward to the ECC semifinals 1 week from today. Always that question of whether you'd rather have the bye or play that game, the rest versus rust philosophy. Georgiou took about 3 seconds to get onto the foul sheet. First team foul on St. Thomas Aquinas in this quarter. I think there is something to be said for knowing, okay, you can make the reservations. We know we're going to be in D.C. next weekend. What day do we want to leave? What time are we going to practice? We're not going to know the opponent until after Wednesday's games are completed. Kellyanne Averill called on the reach-in. 2 quick fouls on the Spartans here in the fourth quarter. Driving to the basket, stopping in traffic is Danielle Harrington. Left side 3 is good as Maya Thomas has her first of the game. 4th three-pointer for the Firebirds today. STAC with just 2. The Spartans have really not put any up. Sadler got away with a walk. Fall-away jumper is off. And the Firebirds let it carry them out of bounds.
Into the game for the Spartans, number 15, Melissa Alfine.
Yeah, just to confirm, that is on the women's side. Queens College was eliminated. So UDC, if Bridgeport loses to Mercy, UDC would be out. Foul on Georgiou.
Her second, team's third.
That game now has 6:45 to play in the fourth quarter. Mercy leads Bridgeport 57-56. Full marks to the Mavericks, knowing it's their last game playing on a visiting floor. Right here, STAC up by 26. On the crossover, Danielle Harrington loses it. Ruth Adams had that pass intercepted all the way. That was a corner jump on the pass route, and for the second time, Adams misses a coast-to-coast layup. And she can afford to laugh about it as a timeout is taken by the Firebirds with 7:18 to play in the fourth quarter. St. Thomas comfortably on top by a score of 61-35.
30-second timeout, UDC, 30 seconds.
Mentioned that the men are going to be in action, and that's a big game for both of those teams as well, as UDC on the men's side can secure a postseason bid with a victory over STAC. Spartans still have a chance at earning the top seed. I'm sorry, not the top seed, Bridgeport. Confusing the women's standings again. Bridgeport has locked in number one. The Spartans may end up being here Wednesday night on the men's side. They may finish third. Even if they tie, even if they win and Damon wins tomorrow at New York Tech, those two teams could come down to a coin toss. We're going to see if we can get a little clarification on that between games. UDC comes out of the timeout. Ball fake by Coombs. Coombs goes to the basket, misses the shot, but she's fouled on the play. Melissa Alifano came in for STAC at that timeout as Georgiou goes to the bench. And Alifano, like her peer, Georgiou gets a quick foul as she steps onto the floor. First free throw attempt by Coombs is good. Second one is good. 5 points for Tyra Coombs on the day, right about her season average. Spartans break the full court pressure. Adams spins in traffic. Oh my goodness. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Pull up three from the right side by Tyra Coombs is good.
It's her second three of the game. Transition basket, open shot, good confident take.
Nice step into the passing lane for the steal by Maya Thomas. Thomas goes coast to coast and lays it in with the right hand. Now Sarah Serback and Ruth Adams miscommunicate in the backcourt and run into each other. Fortunately, reset the clock. That's what was being called for. And a block was called. And that really they should have blown the whistle and stopped. Richard Wright on the far side signaled it, and I guess with a 21-point game, probably better to just keep the clock rolling. Ruth Adams comes to the bench as that foul was on Maya Thomas, number 2 on her. Desiree Gackler back in as Sarah Hare takes a seat. 6:18 to go. Third foul on the Firebirds, 4 on St. Thomas Aquinas. Sadler into the blocks. Alifano tried to seal Gackler, and Gackler got the ball loose momentarily, but then reached in for the foul. So that's number 4 on her.
Desiree Gackler, that's her fourth, team's fourth.
Carisco baseline inbound, 20 on the shot clock. 4 fouls now for each team, so we could see some free throws down the stretch. Serback, right side for Huertas. Sadler kicks for Serback. 5 on the shot clock. Serback crosses over with 3. Huertas takes the hot potato, and the shot clock expires, and that is a shot clock violation. Sarah Serback passed that ball with about 2 seconds to her partner, Lexi Huertas, and said, here, you do something with it.
Huertas stuck between a rock and a hard place there. Good defense, though, by UDC on that possession.
Danielle Harrington throws a pass beyond the reach of Tyra Coombs. Good defense by Huertas there, forcing that turnover, as Coombs did not have a clear path to that pass. Kellyanne Averill comes in, Sarah Serback getting a rest. Would not be surprised to see Sky Burris back in here again very shortly, because Kim Lusk usually does and probably will allow the seniors to come off the floor to a loud ovation from the crowd. That means we may see Adams again as well. Carisco to the basket on the feed. misses the shot, but she's fouled on the play, so well-run offensive set there by the Spartans. As Tyra Coombs is called for her first.
That is her first, team's fifth.
So Victoria Carisco to the line, where she's 1 of 2 on the day. First one is well short. Now 4 minutes to go in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Purple Knights lead Mercy by a pair. Talk about having your fate in your own hands.
Back in the game for UDC, number 23, Kayla Moore.
Kayla Moore comes in replacing Danielle Harrington. $20-point lead for St. Thomas Aquinas as they approach the last 5 minutes of the final home game of the season. Again, STAC will have the bye. And we'll be back in action 1 week from today at the ECC Tournament semifinals. Baseline inbound for Alexis King. Here's Gackler with Alifano guarding her. Right side pull-up 3 by King is good. Alexis King has her second of the game.
3-point basket, number 10, Alexis King.
Huertas finds Alifano. Sadler pulls up from beyond the elbow and grazes the front of the rim. As hot as Missy Sadler was early on, she's missed a couple now down the stretch. Alexis King double teamed by Sadler, who gingerly tried to reach in for the steal. Ends up tied up by Huertas. And alternating possession goes to St. Thomas Aquinas with 4.5 to go.
That's a jump ball, Spark possession.
UDC a little bit crossed up on some defensive signals. Sadler catches, finds Averill, right side 3, well short. Alifano tries to tap out the rebound, pursues it, goes over the back on Tyra Coombs. Alifano was doing very well, and then she just dove all out for that one, and Coombs was the recipient of that blow from the seated position. And here is Sky Burris and Ruth Adams on cue. And here are the hands for Kellyanne Averill and Missy Sadler. Maybe a little early. I don't think the crowd realizes that's the last time they're coming out, unless Kim Lusk gets them back out for a quick shout. Coombs makes the first of 2. Looking to hit double figures if she can convert this one. And she does. Kayla Moore comes to the bench with 3 fouls and no points. STAC's lead is 17. And UDC leaving it all out there, but it's starting to look like it's not going to make a difference. 2:19 to play in Bridgeport. Purple Knights have a 7-point lead over Mercy. So again, not positive, but pretty sure that Bridgeport is going to be in. Pull-up jumper by Sky Burris is good. Bridgeport swept the head-to-head over UDC during the regular season, and that's what will punch their ticket to the playoffs. They will be playing either New York Tech or Malloy on Wednesday night, somewhere on Long Island. Inbound feed for Maya Thomas. Puts up an air ball. Ruth Adams looking to run. That's what Ruth Adams does. Adams looks to go coast to coast, and an offensive foul. Great defensive job there by Danielle Harrington, stepping in to draw the charge, despite her team being down by 19 points with 3.5 left.
And Harrington basically measured Ruth Adams and just anticipated where she was going to go with the basketball, gets outside that mini circle and takes it.
I'm going to give Danielle Harrington credit for a lot on that play, but prognostication is not one of them. I'm not sure anybody in this building didn't know what Ruth Adams was going to do the second she touched that ball. You could see it as soon as she rebounded. I'm going straight to the hoop. Somebody stop me. Pull-up jumper by Harrington, back rims, long rebound for King. Alexis King, reverse layup is just short. That was Coombs on the reverse. Now 3 minutes to go here in the final regular season game of the 2019-2020 season. It's been such a pleasure bringing you all the action of STAC women's basketball here on the Spartan Sports Network. I want to thank Rob Goldberg and my partners through the year. Of course, my longtime partner, Andrew Romanella, who is out now doing sports information work at Fairleigh Dickinson University. Always wish Romo all the best. John Patterson sat in for a number of games this year. Always fun working with him. And thank you, of course, wherever you're watching, across the country and around the globe. Of course, I get to say goodbye for the Spartan part of the broadcast in 2.5 minutes, but going to be on the call for the semifinals next Saturday, all 4 games for the ECC Sports Network. Traveling violation on Gackler. And then Sunday's games have been moved. They're going to be on the NCAA Showcase presented by ESPN3. So disappointed at the opportunity for not having to call those games, but it certainly will be fun to see them with that national recognition. Tanisha Gilbert and Chanel Brodeur-Muir come in as Sky Burris and Kellyanne Averill get their last applause from the Aquinas Hall faithful. It's not going to feel too different, I think, at UDC. I think these families travel well, and I think you're going to see all of them in our nation's capital 1 week from today. STAC will be playing either the 12 noon game or the 2:30 game. The time and opponent will be determined based on the seeding. It's a foul on UDC as STAC inbounds on the baseline with 2 minutes to go. Shot clock down to 5 as Huertas brings the dribble back. Huertas has the clear out, forces it up, and that's an air ball, and it would have been a shot clock violation, but referee's letting them play on as Dana Harrington came up with a clear rebound. That's a good job by the officials. No need to stop the clock there. Off the screen, kick out into the corner. Hare can't corral cleanly. Hands out for Maya Thomas. Thomas with the drive and dish for Dana Harrington. Harrington goes up with the right hand, can't finish. Taps out the long rebound, and it's tracked down in the corner by Kayla Moore. Correction by Tyra Coombs. Nice inside position by Sarah Hare. Her first points of the game, her first field goal of the season. So she's a senior who gets onto the board. In her final game, she had 3 points this season, all from the foul line before that basket. So John Nakpodia giving his senior players a little bit of run. Huertas floats it from the baseline. That's off. Final minute of play in the regular season here at St. Thomas Aquinas. Bridgeport has dropped the hammer in the final minutes. 30 seconds to go in that game. They're up by a dozen now over Mercy. So the Mavericks gave it a good run in a game that had no meaning for them, but Bridgeport is going to punch the 6th and final ticket to the ECC dance. As St. Thomas Aquinas with a 17-point lead and the ball. Don't forget, 30 minutes after the conclusion of this game, we're going to have the men's action for you. Senior Day festivities as Sekou Cisse will be honored on the men's side. Chanel Brodeur-Muir has her shot redirected by Sarah Hare. Shot clock will be off now with 23 seconds to go. I'm not sure what happened. Dana Harrington was like...
I think she gained a hit, got a little bit of contact on the last play, and she was holding her left eye and trying to give something off to the coaching staff.
Maybe the contact lens, yeah. One would imagine, because she's looking at her hand. And that pass was intended for her, but she wasn't looking at it, and it sailed into her bench. Crowd starts to rise here at Aquinas Hall as the St. Thomas Aquinas College Spartans are going to finish the regular season with victory number 21. We didn't get a chance to mention the Spartans are ranked 7th in the East region. And what that means is they would be a bubble team. If they do not win the ECC conference tournament, they're going to have as good a chance as anyone. I think it's really wide open this year. Damon has been impressive, but NYIT and Malloy also right in the mix. Roberts Wesleyan beat STAC last trip up there. Missy Sadler giving a little hard hands to her softball teammates who are up in the bleachers on the open-ended side of the building and have been supporting her throughout. Missy Sandler, also a very accomplished softball player, and her team came out in force with a big head, and a fat head, I should say, and enjoying watching their spring teammate. They'd like to get her on the field as soon as possible, but it's not always in their hands. If the Spartans make a long run into the postseason and are looking for their third straight trip to the NCAA Division II tournament, again, they're going to have to hope for no upsets in the other conference tournaments in the region. That will keep the higher-seeded teams getting their bids and leave the autos for teams like the Spartans, who have played such a tough schedule and really deserve another look. We'll take a look at our final stats before we step aside for our between games break. For UDC, 2 players in double figures. Alexis King had 13. Tyra Coombs had 10. 7 points for Maya Thomas and Halia Ellis. 4 for Latavia Jackson. 2 each for Mia Boyd, Sarah Hare, Dana Harrington, and Desiree Gackler. 49 points for the UDC Firebirds. For St. Thomas Aquinas, Ruth Adams won the battle today with 24 points in 26 minutes of play. 7 rebounds to go with that. Missy Sadler had 17, and that was almost all the Spartans really needed, as Lexi Huertas had 8 points, and then 4 each for Sarah Serbeck, Sky Burris, and Georgia Smith. 3 points for Kellyanne Averill, and 2 for Victoria Carisco. 66 points for the Spartans. UDC won the rebounding battle 29-27. STAC shot 51% from the field on the game to just 38% for the Firebirds. So, Robert, before we step aside, Spartans are going to be in. They're going to be one of the top 2 seeds, and they're going to be keeping an eye on that game out in Old Westbury tomorrow as New York Tech plays Damon in the regular season finale, and that will have a lot of bearing as the Spartans could finish with the number 1 seed. Certainly we know they're getting that bye. Any final thoughts?
I think if you're a STAC fan, you're looking really good going into this conference tournament. A lot of trials and tribulations this year on the women's side, a lot of tough games, a lot of battles, but I think that's going to make them even tougher for this conference tournament coming up. Like you said, Steve, a opportunity to be the number 1 overall seed and have everything run through them, but we'll see with that result. But either way, if you're a STAC fan, a lot to look forward to next weekend in the nation's capital.
Indeed, as we are going to step aside and take a timeout. Once again, the final score of today's first game, St. Thomas Aquinas 66 and UDC 49. The Spartans, again, are now 21-6 overall. Finished the ECC schedule at 13-3. UDC slips to 8-20, 4-12. We're going to step aside and be back with you in about 20 minutes. You'll want to join us a little earlier than usual for a senior day on the men's side, and then we're going to have all the action as STAC takes on UDC. You're watching STAC Basketball on the Spartan Sports Network.